Diablo 4's second season is launched, and right on time for Halloween, it's bringing us the Season of Blood, a new vampire-themed addition to the game. This is of course the new seasonal mechanic and will not affect the Eternal Realm. It includes a new boss, the Blood Harvest, new Vampiric Power system, fueled by pacts on your gear and the potent blood of your enemies, a questline with a vampire hunter Eris, a new seasonal journey to complete with a whole different selection of legendary aspects from last time, and this time it launches alongside a whole bunch of quality of life improvements to the game that make the early and mid game feel way better than they did before. And so today I'm going to be talking about the Season of Blood mechanic, how to get into it, what you do there, and give a little bit of guidance. It's still early days, so not everything's completely solved, but there is a lot that we already know, and I'm sure people have questions, so I'm going to be giving some answers, but because it's early days, don't expect complete or perfect information. And if there are any updates, I'll be sure to release a video about them in the future. Be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss it, and maybe leave a like while you're down there. But for now, let's get into things. Starting with the questline. To participate in the seasonal quests, you need to do two things. First, you need to make a seasonal character. Your current character on the Eternal Realm will not work. And second of all, you have to either skip or complete the campaign, the game's storyline. Once you've done these two things, you should get a quest that begins your seasonal journey. Shortly after that, you'll meet the vampire hunter Eris. And if you want, you can follow most of her quests to get introduced to the season mechanics. That's exactly what I did. You also get some cool vampire powers, because after all, playing with vampires is a dangerous game, and at some point you're just going to get bitten. If you follow the seasonal questline to its completion, then you will encounter your first battle with Lord Zir, who ended up being a somewhat disturbing vampire crab hybrid. And because he's an endgame boss, learning his mechanics now will pay off later. Furthermore, for completing certain quests, including the battle against Lord Zir, you get exclusive vampire powers, some of which are quite powerful, and you'll want to use them to improve your build. So as long as your character seems up to the task, I strongly advise tackling the Lord Zir fight as soon as you can, possibly even before you get into World Tier 3 or World Tier 4. Not only will this unlock some of the most powerful vampiric powers in the game, but it's also a really good way to get a jumpstart on learning the boss fight. Like I mentioned earlier, that'll come in handy later. The Season of Blood also brings the Blood Harvest, a zone event that's very similar to Helltide, and one of the best reasons to participate in Diablo 4's open world. One Blood Harvest is always going to be active, and it's active for an hour, so you don't necessarily want to start doing stuff right before it switches. The Blood Harvest fills a subzone with a lot of vampiric-themed enemies, ghouls, vampires, ghasts, the like. And this is of course on top of normal enemies, leading to much higher density, thus more experience. There's also going to be several quests for the Tree of Whispers, making this a pretty darn good place to farm. Furthermore, kills give Hunters Acclaim, which you can use to advance the Hunters Acclaim board, which is kind of a bunch of free rewards for playing on the season. There's several things to do here. Number one, you can always smash vampiric buildings, or free villagers who are going to be harvested for blood. After you collect some lures, you can fight Bloodseekers. These are pretty cool, and I'll get into them a little bit more later. Of course, you can also kill vampires. There's a lot of killing vampires. Occasionally, you'll collect a Seeker's Cache key. These Seeker's Caches are quite similar to the chests in Helltide. Now, unfortunately, they don't allow you to target farm a specific item or item type, but they do have pretty good loot. I got some of my earliest legendary drops from these before I was even level 30. And the loot seemed to improve very consistently as I go up in World Tier from 2 to 3. The Blood Harvest is also the best way to get potent blood, which is used to unlock and upgrade your vampiric powers. You'll need quite a lot of it because the vampiric powers are the seasonal progression system. It's not a one and done that you're supposed to be finished with before you're level 50. So just like how you have to spend quite a bit of time farming Helltide or Nightmare Dungeons to get the character progression associated with them, you're going to be doing the same with the Blood Harvest. And from my experience, one of the best ways to get potent blood is to fight the Bloodseekers. You can think of them as superpowered enemies with player-like builds. So there's going to be a Bloodseeker Barbarian, who, much like the Barbarian, got nerfed about 8 times and decided to turn to the dark side. Or you'll be fighting a Vampiric Sorceress who decides to throw frozen orbs at you. I mean, I guess that's sort of a way to relive your Diablo 2 nostalgia, except I don't think PvP is exactly what most people mean when they talk about Diablo 2 nostalgia. If you're able to defeat these Bloodseekers, then you get their potent blood. However, they're usually found in pairs and can be quite powerful. So if your leveling build isn't feeling the strongest, I actually suggest holding off on fighting them unless you have some backup. Because this is an open world event and a lot of people are going to be participating, there's certainly going to be a lot of reasons to pair up with a friend, much like with Helltide. After the Blood Harvest has moved on to a different zone, consider turning in your Hunter's Acclaim at the bounty board. It will automatically be collected and unlocks several different tiers of rewards. You can kind of think of a Hunter Acclaims board as a way to supercharge your season start, with legendary items, materials, and even some special vampiric powers. Simple things like killing a vampire gives 1 Hunter's Acclaim, killing a Bloodseeker or destroying a building of course gives more. So taking on more powerful enemies is a way to progress your Hunter's Acclaim more quickly. As far as I can tell, these rewards don't refresh, so once you got them all, you got them all. But for me personally, the coolest part about the season is the Potent Blood, Pacts, and Vampiric Powers. So first up, what are Pacts and how do they work? You need Pacts to use vampiric abilities, and these are found on your helmet, chest, gloves, pants, and boots. And from what I've seen so far, your helmet can have 3 Pacts on it, your chest can have 5 Pacts on it, your gloves can have 5 Pacts on it, your pants can have 4, and your boots can have 3. Though it's possible that some of these may scale up later, especially when you're getting into higher item power stuff. This is just my experience with normal and sacred items. Pacts come in one of 3 types: Ferocity, which is in red, denoted by a helmet or crown; Divinity, in gold, denoted by a chalice; and Eternity in white, denoted by a skull. Each of the different vampiric powers needs a different selection of Ferocity, Divinity, and Eternity Pacts. The Pact consumables drop pretty frequently from Seeker caches, so it won't be too hard to get enough to fill out your gear even when you're leveling up. And if you get a piece of gear with a bunch of Pacts that you don't want, but you want to use the item, then just toss on a cleansing acid. It'll remove all the Pacts and can be altered at the Alchemist to only remove specific Pacts, making it pretty easy to clean up items, which is a refreshing change in comparison to Season 1's. It drops like it drops and there's nothing you can do about it. And so you'll use these up to 20 Pacts to activate up to 5 vampiric powers. You can mix and match however you like, just keep in mind that you will need the Pacts to power them. So for example, I have the Ravenous power, which requires 3 Ferocity, so I need 3 Ferocity on my gear. I have the Anticipation power, which costs 1 Divinity, so that's pretty easy to keep active. The Blood Boil power, which costs a whopping 6 Eternity. It's a very powerful effect, and accordingly, quite hard to equip. Then I have Prey on the Weak, 2 Ferocity, alright, that's not too bad. And Sanguine Brace, which costs 1 Eternity and 1 Divinity. In general, the major Pacts will cost a lot more, and the minor Pacts will cost a lot less. But the major Pacts will also be significantly more powerful and impactful on your build in most cases. So for my current setup, I need 5 Ferocity Pacts, 2 Divinity Pacts, and 7 Eternity Pacts, which is a total of 14, well below the limit of 20, which means in my current setup, I have quite a bit of room to min-max and swap to some heavier hitters as I stop changing around my gear every couple of levels. You unlock Pact by spending Potent Blood. Spending 25 Potent Blood gives you a random selection of 3 Pacts to either unlock or upgrade. After you've unlocked them all, then it'll just be upgrades. Upgrading gives the Pact 1 EXP. It takes 5 EXP to go from level 1 to level 2, and 10 to go from level 2 to 3. Or you can think of it as 125 Potent Blood to go from level 1 to 2, and 250 to go from 2 to 3 for 375 total. But because the choices are kind of random, you won't necessarily be offered the same Pact back to back, meaning it will take a lot more Potent Blood than that to get your first power to level 3. And then, last but not least, as part of a new season, there's the Season Journey, and of course the Season Blessings. If you want to see this, hit U to bring up the Battle Pass and Seasonal Interface. The Season Blessing provides a variety of bonuses powered by your Ash. This Ash is obtained by completing the free track on the Battle Pass, and is also slightly gated by your level to prevent people from gaining an advantage by buying Battle Pass tiers. So you will need to level up a bit first, and as a result, I suggest grabbing the EXP as your first seasonal blessings. You also have the Season Journey, which if you've played Diablo 3, is pretty familiar. The Season Journey offers you a variety of legendary powers for your codex and a few rewards. You complete tasks going from 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. You don't have to complete every single task within a tier to move on to the next one, so if it's a task that you really dislike, feel free to skip it, and you can always come back later if you're really feeling like a completionist. The Season Journey makes for some interesting build making. For example, I don't need an aspect of Ancient Flame to drop. I can simply add it from my codex this season, whereas last season, if I wanted to try out Esu's Ferocity as a key passive on my Sorc, I would have had to wait for the aspect to drop, and then apply it, and if I swap the gear, I'd need another one to drop. By opening things up and allowing more aspects from your codex, there's a lot of room to experiment with builds, especially early on. While none happened to be particularly impactful for a build that I played, a Pulverized Druid, there are definitely options that are quite good and useful across a lot of characters and different builds. And so that's Diablo 4's Season 2, Season of Blood. I've talked about the seasonal questline and how you work with a vampire hunter Eris to track down Lord Zir, gave a little bit of information on the Lord Zir boss fight and why it's important to learn it early, discussed the new open world blood harvest mechanic, something that I think makes the world feel a lot more alive and interactive, also how you can use secret caches for pretty good rewards early, fight powerful blood seekers, and collect the potent blood to level up your vampiric powers. Honestly, if there's one thing that's going to stand out about this season, it is just how cool it is to use the vampiric powers. I'm sure it'll get old eventually, but for now it's an absolute blast for my powers proc, and I get to run through all my little blood orbs and absolutely annihilate them. Plus, as you kill stuff within the blood harvest, you get Hunter's Acclaim, which you can use for unique seasonal rewards. Just remember to power your powers with Pacts: Ferocity, Divinity, Eternity. You can take them off with Cleansing Acid, and you can have up to 20 total, at least on basic gear. Then, last up, be sure to follow the seasonal journey to unlock some aspects and get EXP bonuses with your Ash as early as possible. And so now I'm curious, what are your thoughts so far on the Season of Blood? And is there anything else you want to know? Be sure to leave your questions along with general comments down in the comments below. Now, if you're looking for something else to watch, I recently released a video talking about live service games and how they always change over time. That might be a slightly more depressing topic, but I still think it's something important to talk about, and I hope other people find it interesting. Link to that will be up in the card and down below. That said, thanks for watching, and a special thanks to my patrons and channel members for the continued support. For as low as $1 a month, you can help make videos just like this one possible. Link to that is also down below. With that said, thanks again for watching, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you again sometime soon.